Welcome in, everyone. Welcome to the call. Excellent. Thank you for making time to join us again. Paul's waving hi. Just while we let people, Stephen's back. And good to see you again, Stephen. All right. We'll wait for a few more people to come in. While we're waiting for a few more people to come into the room, just put in the chat where you're calling in from. I know Stephen's calling in. You still in the north part of Bali, Stephen? Yeah. Let's put
Yes,
it
I
in the
am.
yeah.
Yes, I am. I may be longer here because Qatar Airways just canceled my flight. I
Oh
wanted to come back
boy.
this weekend.
Oh
No
boy.
way. No way.
Well, as we wait for more people to come in, let's put in our chat where we're calling in from, and we'll get started shortly. Paul's in Seminyak. We've got Brianna coming in as well. Joy's calling in from the Philippines. I'm calling in from Bali. Hi from Melbourne. Awesome. We've got Gordon as well, just joining us, letting him in. Brianna's calling in from Perth. Miguel's calling in from Brussels. Okay, we got a global audience here. Neil's also joining us. Fantastic. Okay, so while we get all settled in, let me share my screen. Can we all see that okay? Can we see my screen okay? Yeah, thumbs up? Okay, great. Well, welcome back for our second session. Last week we went deep on all the amazing love coaching essentials and fundamentals, and we got to hear beautiful parts of Adriane and Miguel's story and how they came together and why this work is so important. And we're going to go even deeper, um, even deeper this week on this new era of love and relationship coaching. Just to get a clear frame for this meeting and what we want to cover in this session, we're going to be covering the professional foundation of love work. Miguel, coming from his ICF background and being the chapter president for Belgium, he's going to be talking about ICF ethics and standards, and we've got the 7 domains of love coaching. Adriane's going to guide us through that. Your path to this Global Love Coach Academy certification, and then at the end, if this is something that really resonates and this is something that you feel strongly about going on this journey, wherever you're at and which point it feels good, then we can have our team have you book a call and have a beautiful conversation. But the bigger frame of all of this, and this I know is something near and dear for Adriane, is becoming a lighthouse for love, and just really tuning into that frequency of really imagining yourself as a beacon and a lighthouse for love. And with that being said, I'll introduce our amazing facilitators and guides for today's session. Some of you know her well, and some of you are just getting to know Adriane. She has been, in this journey for 20 years plus, and she has near and dear to her heart becoming this master love coach, working, as you can see, with John Gray, co-writing a book with him, Lisa Nichols from The Secret, and Marissa Peer, and just appearing and sharing her wisdom on different TV networks, and really just being a leading voice in this space for many years now. And this is a further call of her stepping up and creating this Global Love Coach Academy, having these beautiful new methods, and just showing people that there's a really beautiful path to love and relationships, and guiding others on that journey as well. So we're excited to have Adriane Venus on this call to share her wisdom and her journey with us. And we've also got Miguel Candelas, and he's calling in, like he said, from Brussels, but he's the president of the International Coaching Federation's Belgium chapter. And that's 10 years of international coaching experience. And, he's well sought after, and he's giving presentations and talks globally. And his background is anthropology and positive psychology, which is near and dear to my heart. That's something I studied in school too, and I love that field. And he's really committed to upping the standards, upping the game, and upping the ethics of this love coach conversation. And I know he, brings a really beautiful, safe kind of space to every kind of room he's facilitating. So we're excited to hear from him as well. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to the man of the hour, Miguel, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what he feels is so important in this conversation. So I passed it on to you, Miguel, and excited to hear what you have to say.
Thank you, Brendan. Welcome, everybody, and we are very happy to have you today here. Um, Something that is very important to say is about we speak about love coaching, but what is this? What is love coaching? And we cannot speak about love coaching if we don't speak about presence, because when someone wants to come to a love coach, they come with a story. Sometimes it can even be heartbreak, confusion, etc. And so they need someone that truly cares, that truly is present to their grief or to their story. So caring is the fertile soil to me for any love coach. And think about like a garden, you have everything. You put the best seeds in the world, everything is there. But if the soil is dry, nothing can grow. So the Global Love Coach Academy is really about this. And to be the soil to be very fertile, it's about human connection. So at the Global Love Coach Academy, the intention, I will say, is to to cultivate coaches that lead from the heart place, not just from the knowledge, but from the heart. So what I want to say is that this is very important for us that we talk about coaching, and there are different kind of coaching approaches out there, but the special approach that we have here is that we train coaches to lead, of course, from a space of knowledge, and as you really say, we, Adrian and myself, we've been harvesting a lot of knowledge in different fields, etc. But the new thing here is that we come from a place where we give the capacity to awaken coaches. And I think about three things that are very important, that people are looking for: a coach that is honest, that reconnect to their inner wisdom, to the inner story, and that can be able to transform the relationship. So starting from my own relationship, for instance, I can't come from a place of say, okay, the relationship is this, if my own relationship in the instance they're not also in a better, or in a good situation. So the story is long to share, and I could speak about this hours, about my personal journey through relationship, heartbreak, or different trainings, etc. That has led me to say and to think, okay, now it's time that to share all this together with Adrienne, to provide, to build a school where we can mirror what we have been through also, but coming from a heart place. And this is what I really wanted to say. And for this, of course, we need a foundation. And we need a foundation. And the foundation that we are bringing here is the foundation that the ICF standards is about, that I will talk a little bit later about it.
Thanks, Miguel. I appreciate you going into that for us. And just as a little bit of, you know, for the room, just so we feel like you can interact with this, if you have questions, or if Miguel or Adrian is touching on a topic and there's something that gets sparked in you, please feel free to put either your hand up, as you do on the reaction, or just put the question in the chat for us, and then we can get to that. We've got lots to cover, but we also want to create some spaciousness where if you got a question, we can actually get to that as well. We will have some Q&A time at the end, but sometimes it's nice to not just wait to the end to ask my question, especially if it's really alive and present in us. And when Miguel was sharing about this particular slide, what was coming up for me, Miguel, just maybe a little clarifying point.
Oh,
Client sovereignty. Can you just one or 2 minutes speak to what you mean by that? Because that's a new term for me too.
yes, sure. Client sovereignty means, the autonomy that we are not looking to just guide somebody through their own process. The idea and the goal is that when you come to the Love Coach Academy to become a coach, is to get this autonomy so that you, as a love coach, you can also be autonomous with all the tools and all the standards and all the ethics that we're going to bring in. Can say, okay, now I can transmit this later on, because the sovereignty is the tricky thing, I would say, is that whenever you go into a training and you feel, oh wow, well, that was amazing, I felt something and it was great, but then after the training, let me tell you something like shit hits the fan again, let's say. Sorry to say this, but I want to say is that, like, we don't want just you to feel okay during the 7 days of the training. The goal is that, right, even later you are enough autonomous and we have the sovereignty to continue on with all the tools and all the skills needed to grow in the field of the love as a love coach, centered to the heart. As I say, of course, we have a lot of knowledge as coaches, but the idea is to bring this knowledge to the heart so that your relationship, and starting from your own relationship, can flourish in a different way, because all the soul has become as fertile as enough, that we want that soul to be fertile as enough. So the idea is to be as autonomous as possible, so that the training is going to happen, but the after is also important. Not just the training, but the after of the after the training. Doesn't make
Got it.
sense.
Yes. Just so when you're saying autonomous, meaning like afterwards, you feel
Mhm.
like you have the skills or you're empowered to do this on your own.
Absolutely.
Just because
Exactly.
I didn't go to as much school as you did, Miguel, so I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding exactly what you meant there. So now I'm hooking on. We're also going to hear from Adriane on this part on, we talked about caring deeply is necessary, however, it's not sufficient. And I know, and we got Stephen next. Let's have Adriane just share briefly, and then we're going to get right to Stephen's questions as well.
So first of all, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm really happy to see all of you on this call. And I think, it's an interesting time we are doing this. Last week, we were really gathering for the core essence of awaken the awareness in all of you, to express something you might not have discovered yet. And today we are actually much broader. We are seeing it much more holistic and ultimately much more visionary. I am a visionary. I am a love visionary. That's really who I am. As much I have coaching skills and come from a long standing path of educated as a healer, as a holistic practitioner. I worked in many modalities. I'm trained in many modalities. So I'm a therapist as well as a coach. So I know to understand, to differentiate different layers here. And I want to say something really important, because I see this reflected in everything going on in this very moment. There's a lot of uncertainty. People are very, very worried. We have a lot of people stuck here in Bali, not being able to take planes back home. And there are others who consider seriously, can I get on a plane and even safely arrive there? So we know that what we are sharing here today will maybe invoke in some of you the sense of, I would love to be there, but is this safe to do? And I think the safety and the kind of, sense of really structure we want to create here shouldn't sound like this is now or never. I really want to emphasize that I have a very, very solid vision for this to grow. And the title for this call today is, becoming a lighthouse for love in the world. And we're doing it. It's actually really your personal call to decide, do I do it now? Do I do it in the future? Or is that not for me? And will I do it never? And many feel the giggling and the feeling of, yeah, this is something I really want to do. And, we have this beautiful slide here saying, if you're going to guide someone through the most vulnerable transformation of their lives, I mean, if we have that calling to help others through that transformation, then we know that we have this calling. And what Miguel and I are creating here is really a platform where you can step in and learn from so many different angles. It's really something that I want to invite you to. This is an invitation, you yourself to become a lighthouse and carry your light from this training into a space wherever you live in the world and share it with those who are in need. You build your coaching practice, but eventually we will have places all over the world that will shine. We will not have franchises and I will not sell licenses, but what I will do is I will utilize your capacity to be a lighthouse in another place of the world for us to be invited, Miguel and me and the other trainers who are part of our team, to come in and do the training wherever you are. So we are not sitting here and saying, you all come to Bali's, that's happening now in Spain. It's happening in Toronto. It's happening in probably New Zealand, Australia very soon. So we are really looking at every corner where we already have the capacity to build a lighthouse, because all us trainers are from different parts of the world, Canada, England, Singapore, so I just want to really emphasize that there is a calling. Individuals and couples scream for help. There's so many mixed messages about what works, and the word nervous system just alone in the last week going on social media and listen. If you were on the call, I spoke about what actually love coaching is. It's to a greatest extent heart-mind coherence, and it is about nervous system regulation. And the word nervous system is everywhere because the awareness is so loud and so present right now that we have a war. We have so many people being anxious. There is so much happening. How on earth can we sustain our inner peace and our inner content without regulating or knowing techniques and ways to regulate our nervous system? So that's really my message related to this call today. And so much shifted even in just 7 days. The energy today is very different from what we feel the world is feeling to where we were 7 days ago when we did part one. And yet I hold my vision. There is nothing that shakes me. There's nothing that shakes me. And I want to promise you that Miguel and I are 100% committed, that if you make the commitment to join us, then it will be an invitation to be held between a beautiful group of people and to grow together. So that's really my core message today. And I want to give back to Brandon and thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Appreciate that, passionate share. And I think it's the global Love Coach Academy. We know we're having it's not the Bali Love Coach Academy. So again,
exactly. We are not selling a Bali retreat here. This is ultimately, yes, we want to invite you to be in Bali next month, really, because that's foundational and inaugural for us. But there's so much more to come. So stay connected if
beautiful.
the time is not now,
I want to get to Stephen's questions as well. Feel free to unmute,
absolutely.
Stephen.
Thank you. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, I'm a little bit lost here because when I read informed consent, boundaries and scope, emotional safety, these are things which are very clear to me. I know this from BDSM sessions, very clear. And when it comes to client sovereignty, when I hear client, I think, okay, if I'm a love coach, I'm the coach and there's my client. And I have the feeling, are you meaning us as your clients? And if you say consent, then with whom exactly? I'm a little bit lost. What exactly is the session? Is the setting you're referring to in these points?
Yeah, that's a great clarifying question, Stephen. And that's kind of what was coming up for me too. So let's try answering that in a different way, Miguel, for us, just as simply as possible.
So the ICF defines coaching as a partnership between the coach and the client. So it's when you are a love coach, you are already certified as a coach, that you help someone, that the person that you are guiding is called in the ICF jargon, in the ICF standards, the clients. That's what I was referring to. Here, we're not talking about US clients. Here we are a school, where a global love coach academy, where we train people to become a love coach. But when you're a love coach, you will get people that reach out to you as a love coach in your practice. And these people, they are called your clients. Why we call them the clients? And that's very simple, because the ICF makes a very...
No, sorry. I don't want to.
Oh, oops. Sorry about
Sorry,
that.
cutting.
Sorry. One more time.
Question has been answered.
Question's been answered.
My question has been answered. Thank you.
Okay.
Fantastic. Thanks, Miguel. Thanks for that. And look, it's important. Like, we don't want to blow through these slides, and we're building confusion to confusion. So it's really important that we have clarity on this client sovereignty in that coaching container that Miguel is, guiding us through. Let's keep moving, because it's a really good point to get to, which is about these ICF standards in love coaching. And I think Miguel's going to guide us through this, and kind of step by step, why this is so important, specifically for the Global Love Coach Academy, and how this is kind of going to be a new standard we set moving forward.
Thank you, Brandon. Yes, absolutely. So the Global Love Coach Academy is based on the ICF standards that I'm bringing in the course. So why this is important? Because the ICF standards are the highest standards in the field of coaching worldwide. So if, for instance, you say, "Oh, I've been trained in a place where I have been told the ICF standards," these standards are the same for anywhere you are in the world. And what are these standards? So as I say, the ICF defines the coaching as a partnership between the coach and the client when you have somebody. And the ICF has 8 core competencies that the coach must embody to be called a ICF coach. And these core competencies are, first, to demonstrate ethical practice. Ethical practice, it means to be acting in integrity and respecting confidentiality, but it has a much more definition that we will be going on during the course. A coach must also cultivate trust and safety. Adriane was talking about trust, and we think this trust is important. There is no relationship of any kind without trust. And this is a competency also in the ICF core competencies. The coach must also demonstrate active listening and deeply presence. So that's to also allow the client, the person you are having in front of you, to be able to express their own emotions and meaning. So this is the other competency. A coach is also there to evoke awareness, because it's not only just to listen, which is already listening is a big part, but then the coach helps with strong and deep question to evoke awareness, allowing the client, allowing the person to discover inside and maybe didn't think about, or to go into the field that's when you have okay, that evoking awareness through different practices. And ultimately, the role of coaching is it's not only to provide answer, and this is why I was talking about sovereignty. The answer comes also from within, because when somebody comes with a heartbreak, a grief, or anything related to relationship, that the person knows the story better. That's the person that has been through this process, to that journey. So the coach is there to facilitate awareness and the client growth. So the person can grow through this different kind of these different 8 core competencies. And at the Global Love Coach Academy, we bring these standards that are standards from everywhere, but we bring these standards in the relationship, in the emotional work we're doing also at the Love Coach Academy and the nervous system that Adriane has been saying. So we are melting this together. We are merging this together to have a heart-centered and professional coach that can be more powerful, because we have these 2 things. It's not just in the mind, the knowledge, but we bring all this through the heart.
Yes, fantastic. And I think maybe that's, building on to, yeah, caring's important, but having those competencies, having those frameworks, having those skills so that like people that deeply care and want to make a difference feel empowered to do that by having these kind of four key things in place too. And clean agreements is so important, making sure we're all on the same
Absolutely.
page and all the all the things that are,
Exactly.
yeah. So that's great. So that's helpful for me to understand, and hopefully it's helpful for everyone. Again, if there's questions, let us know. Okay, great. So the next part that I want to touch on here is, and I think I'd like to have Adriane just speak just briefly on this one. And I know this is, I think, what resonated so much with you and Miguel, that he would, that you were bringing your experience, but then he was showing this kind of safety and this ethical approach. And in that structure, actually we can go much deeper, because sometimes if we don't have clear boundaries, people are running all over the place. So if you want to speak to this just briefly, a couple minutes, and then we'll go to the next. But I would love to hear your perspective on this,
Yes,
Adriane.
I'm very happy to. The word that probably just intuitively stands out in this very moment for me is the word professionalism. And it might scare some of you because it sounds like, oh my God, are you putting yourself away from others who learn things more organically or more in community work or, more through other processes. What I'm trying, or what we are trying to establish here, that to build a professional position in your realm is a process. It demands that you experience day by day what's happening in your relationship to the other party you're dealing with, whether this is in your family, whether this is with friends or with your clients or business alliance partners. And I think this foundation, the structure is almost like we begin to know where we are comfortable and where we are, aligned, and where we maybe face situations that feel not so good. And if I say this not so good, I mean, it can be very confronting when you feel that you haven't a particular level of understanding about communication someone brings in your direction. I mean, there's so many methodologies available. And what I want to channel also in this training is there are so many amazing teachers on this planet who have given us tools that are very, very, very effective. And which tools and what level of professionalism and the structure you build in your own very unique individual, surrounding, and the way you run your professional life is really your decision. And we just can offer you this beautiful buffet. And there will be a few main dishes, which one of them is certainly the ICF material, but there will be also others touched on that are more like dessert or a soup before the big buffet meal you experience when you come in this beautiful environment we will share. But saying this, the structure is something you build for yourself, and we help you, because the boundaries in which you present yourself with your clients, and I want to also comment this word sovereignty for us women in particular in professional statuses at this moment of time, the word often appears, because we want to feel good about standing in our self-love and in our self-empowerment and represent to you that we have the capacity to help. But also we give the same ability to our clients to learn to be that in your own love life or in the surrounding of your personal and professional relationships. So it's everywhere where we train that every day, and it is trainable. So that's what we discover in this call today. Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Adriane. It's really helpful to understand. And I think what really resonated for me when you guys shared, even some last week, was the Love Coach method as the third way, Whereas maybe in the clinical approach, it lacks the soul that we all crave and the depth that we want. And then we have the more spiritual practices that feel inspired, but they don't feel as safe, or they don't feel as, maybe there's not as much safety emphasized. And so I think this kind of third way approach, or this middle path where it's both inspired and safe, I think is, for me, what was landing the most. Because I know that you have lots of experience, in you know different rooms, different teachings, and a lot of it is very inspired, but then sometimes things can unfold that feel maybe like it's crossed a boundary, or there's maybe not a clear agreement and whatnot. So I think if you live in Ubud long enough, and you get invited to enough tantric workshops, you see that there's some room for these type of standards to be in place, and that's great, without losing soul, though. And I think that's what is, for me, so important, because we're spiritual beings. We want to find ways to love ourselves and love each other, and have this kind of intimacy at a deeper level. So that middle way really resonates for me. I'm going to pass it on to Miguel as well, as we discuss a little bit more about why this sacred work that we're discussing deserves the kind of standards that we all kind of crave as well. So I'll pass it over to you, Miguel, on some of these key points here and what you want to emphasize.
Thank you, Brendan. And I will jump on something you just shared now. And I will start with the emotional consent. For instance, I give you an example. When you have any kind of interaction in any kind of workshop, etc., I often hear, oh, the person say yes. Okay, but is a yes always a yes? Whenever the situation change, the emotion change, the feeling can change in any kind of practice, and that can be also be in a couple or in any kind of relationship, in any moment. And the moment, as you say, the T moment, when this is changing. So a yes is never a full yes. It's a full yes, but it can become a no. And that's when a love coach has to be aware of, because a no is a no. A yes can become a no. But then maybe the person doesn't dare to say, oh, no, it has become a no. Or maybe there are some emotional happening that the person doesn't feel safe. And that's what I was saying, talking about the safety and the standards of the ICF as well. So this is what we're going to we're going to teach through, and we're going to discover and share about the emotional consent. Because you can ask a question, oh, are you okay to do this? Yes, I'm okay. And then the practice starts, and suddenly the energy changes, but then the consent is not being negotiated because fear, because maybe of a lack of awareness of, or maybe of not willing to disappoint the person, and so on. This is just an example. And this is where it is important, because a yes is a yes, but it's never a granted yes for all the time. And it's very important to remain aware of this, because that's really, the safety is really, really important for this. And this is why we are at the Global Love Coach Academy teaching the standards, because through questions, through awareness, to be heart-centered, we can be also observing, feeling, and daring to talk about maybe the big elephant in the room that just appear in a sudden, that was not there 5 minutes before. And this is very important. So comes to the power awareness. So the consent and the power awareness, for me, awareness comes together. For me, it's from somebody that is empowered, somebody that is embodying these values, is also somebody that is aware and sensing the dynamic in the room. Because if you just feel like, okay, that's yes, I can go for it, but then you realize that it's not. So clarity, and it's all linked. Clarity, questions, asking questions, but also listening to silence, because a silence can be also a no or a yes. So this about empowerment is really, really important. And we're going to go through this with Adriane, that how can I be sure about all this? And the risk of dependency, this is something that I would really quick share, is now when the sovereignty I was referring to and the autonomy is that I am safe enough to not fall into some situation where I feel like I am not at ease to voice my truth. And this is really, really important also, and we're going through all this. So these are the standards that one of the standards we teaching, but we're going to go deeper, and I would like to hear about from Adriane about all this, because this is very important. But the ICF standards help at least put a ground and safe container to already know a lot of things through these standards, and we're going to bring this into the field of the love and the relationship. Yes. Adriane, you're smiling.
Yeah, I can comment on this. I do this since, I work in the healing and transformational field since over 35 years. And with love and relationship, as you heard at the beginning of the call, 20 years. And of course, it's a learning process. And there wasn't an ICF when I started, There wasn't that available. I didn't even know what coaching was, I was married to a coach. I learned coaching being a wife of a coach. I tell you that. And only later I stepped into doing certificates and got a professional coach, And now I really declare myself as a master coach based on the fact that I really learned my lesson not just
I think your internet may have just dropped a little,
down.
Adriane.
Oops. Bali.
Sure.
Some cloud passing by with the rain, maybe.
It helps to turn off the video.
Lines, and you try it, and ultimately every you as a new it will.
Yep.
Are we still there?
Adriane,
am I
you
still
dropped
there?
out.
Have I been?
You dropped out for a second there. Can you say that
Yes.
last important point one more time, just for us, because your internet hiccup?
Was it when I said when you sit down with a client? Was that the one?
Mm-hmm.
Or a little earlier? Can you give me the
No,
last
right that one.
sentence
When you sit down with the client.
Yes, when you sit down with a client, the important part is that even after many years of experience, it's always a new process, a new experience, and you will be always tested to understand how for this particular client, what you know works or has to be modified. And what we are trying here is there is no good or bad or right or wrong. There is an awareness. And I hope you agree with me, Miguel, that what the ICF gives us as coaches is a beautiful framework, a beautiful communicational toolbox that helps us to really be in flow with each unique situation, with each unique session, and with each human being we are meeting in a professional space. Thank you. That's my contribution here.
Thanks, Adriane. And I think if anyone has questions, just let us know. Pop them in the chat as well. What was coming up for me actually was this idea of referral clarity, because I'm coming, from a different kind of background where when I think of referral, I'm thinking of, passing business on to someone. But I feel like this word has a different context here. And I'm seeing empowerment versus ongoing reliance. So, Adriane, what's the kind of distinction here as the coach, that we don't want them forever reliant on us? Or maybe help me
the way I
unlock
understand this
this.
particular, I would say, and maybe Miguel sees it from a different perspective. I just mentioned a while ago, I'm trained as a homeopath, as a therapist in many modalities, and in some I'm really very developed because I developed the toolbox to make it professionally sound. You know, I built Jitsu in New Zealand and Australia many, many years ago when I was very young and made it a professional, accessible tool. So what I'm trying to see here is that from the eye of the therapist versus the eye of the coach, you sometimes have to differentiate when you tap into a field where you actually give medical or psychological or really therapeutic advice. And luckily, I have a lot of qualifications and background to justify that I can do this. But when you do coaching, and Miguel will very much point this out because we will have a big session to differentiate coaching and therapy, okay, and counseling. These are three keywords. And the referral part is when somebody has not the capacity, or a big example is you know, when they're on medical, you know, prescriptions, you know, when we deal with somebody who is really needing medical advice for what they're doing, I cannot say as coach, you stop having this medical support and not continue your medication, because I think that I know that the mental, emotional, you know, inspirational skill set to teach this person to do it better mentally. So here come really, I personally love the collaboration. I love to collaborate with doctors, with practitioners, therapists from other modalities and have that conversation together. But sometimes it's the choice of the client to say, I step back and I choose for a little while to do this, and then I might come back to coaching. And maybe, Miguel, we really want to point out already here, you know, coaching is very tool and results, and not results in the sense of you have to achieve something, but it's very much giving you the strengths to have resources you can apply, versus therapy is working very differently.
Wonderful. Just for the sake of time, I do want to transition into the 7 domains of love coaching as well, because I know how important that and quantum intimacy is for you, Adriane. I know that's something
Yeah, I think
near and
I
dear.
want to. Yeah, would you bring the slide up? I think
Of
this is very
course.
important, you know. I'm often asking, I mentioned this last week. I think that came already up in last week's beautiful, you know, what is a love coach? And, you know, even in television, you know, my latest interview with New Zealand prime time morning TV show, I was asked, okay, your job is to take couples in a bedroom and tell them after 30 years being together and they're having this and this issues, how to do it better. And I said, no, that's not what it is. It might be, but it's really not what love coaching is per se. So I want you to just for a moment, all of you, really to, if you even want to close your eyes, give me that you know, participate in a kind of an exercise to imagine that relationships that are really dear to you fall out of your scope. Okay, you might have a divorce, and then your kids get older and they move out, and then your best friend decides not to be your bestie anymore, and all these really important relationships are falling away, right? And then you realize that life is relationships and relationships are life, that when we are not in relationship with those we really cherish and can build and grow together, then something essentially, existentially is missing in our evolution. So what I'm leading to here is when I talk about the 7 domains, that our love life begins very early in life and it ends with our last breath, even beyond our last breath. Because if someone stays, you know, in the physical realm of human, you know, existence while we are passing on and our soul is transiting, there is still love, there's still a connection. This makes the whole quantum field so exciting, because you can attract love with people or heal love with those you can't reach physically or as human beings easily. You can do in the realm of, you know, that beautiful 5th dimension we know as quantum field. So when we talk about dating, manifesting love and not finding love, we never find love. We really have to do something to cultivate in us the readiness to bring it in and to make it part of our living structure. there's also structural, you know, a relationship is building structure in our existence. Communication and bonding. I mentioned, you know, my really strong phase in the last 5, 6, 7 years working with John Gray. I mean, reading his books and learning about, you know, how men and women think and talk differently and their needs and the way they bond differently is so essential. But there is not just that, there is much, much more. Intimacy is not sex. You will learn in the training that sex, love, and intimacy are 3 completely different territories. And particularly intimacy is so misunderstood. Everybody thinks about intimacy as sex, all right? And intimacy is something we have in business equally like we have in personal relationships. You know, you can be intimate in a business relationship equally to a personal relationship or, you know, a love relationship. Starting over is huge. How many in particular, my, you know, age group, you know, some sort of 45, 50, even 60. I mentioned last week, you know, divorces above 50 have doubled, above 65 tripled in the last 10 years. So people start over again very, very late. We need to have tools to help them. A lady with 60, 65 coming into a coaching realm will have very different, you know, prerequisites to want to be, what is the word, to really want to be served from or by a coach versus somebody who is young and wants to learn how to date right. You know, my capability as coach, as love coach, has to be advanced enough to serve anyone on the human evolution scale from very early in their life, even kids. You can talk to your own children about love and relationships very resourcefully and really holistically, how can I say, you know, educational, you know, like you don't want to educate a 65-year-old lady what's right or wrong for her, but she wants the conversation. She wants that soundboard of hearing what can work for her, and often just speaking it and having somebody to have a beautiful, deep conversation can help so much. And last not least, you know, breakup and separation. This is no doubt that's a big, big field. And karmic relationship healing, that is my biggest learning field. I became a love coach through spiritual, you know, facilitation. I was a healer for many years already, but the spiritual facilitation for heartfulness as well as the Oneness University guided me into tools that allowed me, you know, I got, you know, initiations into spiritual processes. I feel so grateful about, and I will not ever talk in my coaching practice about that. But does this help me as a coach? Oh yeah, it does, because my level of intuition and awareness where people are at and linking it to their parents, to their whole karmic, you know, ancestral line up to 7 generations in particular, can be an incredible powerful reference to what actually has happened in happening in somebody's life and what's required for the person to shift and change and let go of and release in order to feel less pain and to get finally comfortable and whole in their very own being. And it's something that is very sacred. This is a really sacred process to guide somebody through this, discovering that they're ready to say, I can let this go. And how beautiful when you have people calling you after 3 or 5 days after session, say, my life is changing. Suddenly I get calls. My daughter called me to say apology. You know, I found a new friend. I decided to have a new hobby. And you see people really do it. It's happening. It's happening. That's what makes me a coach. Seeing the change, seeing the transformation, and not just talking about it, but observing it with so many amazing people I have the privilege to be around and to serve. So thank you for listening. That's really, and you have to have the capacity to serve them. This is not just about dating and finding love, and, you know, it's so much more. Thank you.
I love that share, Adriane. Thank you so much for that. And I can really feel your heart through that. I want everyone to put in the chat, which of these domains is calling to you as either something that you would like to guide others on if you decided to become a love coach? Which of these domains are near and dear, or maybe two? Or what do you want to learn more about as well? I know for me, this idea of karmic relationship healing stood out for me as a point of curiosity, because I can feel it when certain things get shifted in a relationship, how big a change that can make in how I'm feeling and in my life in general. So I would love to hear what people are kind of really excited about learning. Neil saying number 3, number 2, 1 and 4 for Gordon. Gordon, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Love that. Yeah, great. Let's be honest. Why aren't we taught this stuff when we're younger? I have no idea. I still don't know why there's not a more beautiful guidebook on how to love and how to have relationships well. And that's why it's so important, this conversation. Anyone else want to share what they feel most interested in learning or supporting others through? If not, then we'll go. For the sake of time, we're actually going to get into another topic that I know is really important for Adriane, and something that I find quite interesting, because they're all important, of course. So far, we've heard, felt a little vague to me, honestly. Okay, great. Yep. Yeah. And I think we can only go so deep in a 60-minute session, I guess, is kind of where I would go with that, Stephen. Any particular part that you would wanted clarity on, like that felt particularly vague, that you would maybe want a little more clarity
Are
on?
you showing a slide? I'm only
No.
seeing.
I saw a comment from Stephen,
No,
but
it's
all
very
of,
okay.
Okay.
Okay, if this is really a question, I mean, of course,
yeah.
which is where you have to be the most vague on is the spiritual. I think the last point, um, I'm not really sure whether it is really imperative to find a common language to talk to this, because everybody has his or her own spiritual way from which already force is flowing. And I'm not sure I would, in particular, being a physicist, I have particular problems attaching to this use of the word quantum. I probably won't do this, but I think this will not be an obstacle because we use different languages, and this is
Sure.
okay. It's completely okay.
Okay, cool. I wanted to make sure I was understanding the question. And I think if anyone says they understand quantum fully, they don't understand quantum fully. So that's okay too, because it's quite
That's what
mysterious.
Feynman said.
Yeah.
So I agree.
Yeah, I think that's a Feynman quote. I don't if I could quote Richard Feynman for a second. I don't know where that came from, but let me go to what our best guess in this realm of uncertainty for quantum intimacy, and let's kind of have Adriane share a little more deeply on what this is
I
about.
mean, that's a beautiful summary of what I already shared last week.
Yeah.
I personally developed a quantum intimacy process. I interviewed very much in depth Dr. Bruce Lipton on this. I want to be really honest. 12 years ago, when I started working with Bruce, the word nervous system didn't appear so much. I'm really intrigued, But the beauty about all this is, and I always knew that, I'm a visionary, I say it again and again. I'm intrigued even still today, 12, 15 years after I created this terminology and made movies and, have a whole quantum intimacy process dedicated, 2 or 3 hours dedicated in, internal process with my clients. It covers so much, the coherence is really important, the field awareness, the relational intelligence. I call it intimate intelligence. I really want to call that this way, beyond words, beyond technique. But intimate intelligence is also something we bring back, and quantum intimacy. And Stephen, I really like what you say, saying, quantum. And I have that so often. There are people on the call here who work with me for years. I would not touch the word quantum in their coaching with them because I know it's not their language,
Yeah.
And this is the intelligence I'm talking about, or we talked about earlier. I need to adjust. I need to tune to the level of where people, I cannot expect a person almost being 70 years old opening up to the love of quantum intimacy, but opening up to the love of community and co-sharing, and being in listening and sharing mode, and having something to give back to the world and to our own loved ones. If that's the level of communication we choose or the person requires to have the most transformational experience, then that as coaches we need to provide. But having the tools to go this expensive, I'm really feeling privileged to have learned a lot from a lot of thought leaders, and living now, right now, in these very pivotal times, to be inspired by, and to be our our teachers and guides for an expensive you know uh, expensive materials that help our skills to widen and to be extended. So I just want to say that this is a personal choice. Even in the 7 domains, if you decide to be a dating coach or to be a divorce coach, then hey, then good on you, and we help you to 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 deepen that to the best of our abilities. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank
Mhm.
you. Thank you, Adrian. I think, yeah, it doesn't need to be understood fully in the realm of quantum. It seems like we're entangled with each other in some way, in some mysterious way, and in that
That's
kind
right.
of field, and in those two people becoming one, and in that field, we can feel when someone's maybe out of alignment and not in coherence, and you can also feel when people in, or when there's a heart mind coherence, and I think they're studying that in an interesting way as well, and you can feel that, and animals respond and people respond, and I think that's a kind of, it's still mysterious, and life is mysterious, and love is mysterious, and relationships are interesting, but it can be measured too, heart rate variance and different kind of brain waves and stuff like that. So I think, for me, I love entering into this mystery a bit, into this unknown, and I think that's where some of the juicy stuff are. I'm gonna also pass it back because I know we've got only 2 minutes left. And if I invite you on to stay on a few extra minutes for a Q&A as well, and I'll guide you through a few key next steps. But Miguel, in maybe 1 minute, as concise as we can, why does this upcoming retreat in Bali exist, and why does it need to happen now?
Hmm. Why? Yes, I think this is the momentum because we can see what's happening in the world. And I have a belief, and that's my personal belief. As long as we have inner war within, there's not going to be anything else in the outer world.
Mm,
And I think this is the why I truly believe that the work starts within.
mm,
And maybe I'm an idealistic, but I want to, I truly believe that when we start from within, things change. And for me, love coaching is not simply a profession, it's a calling. I could share, and I think I don't have time about my journey, about my curiosity about human beings, the loss of my father that has been one of the biggest trigger of my life, then my journey 2 years around the world traveling to find the meaning of life, and the love lost, the connection that I thought that I had lost. And then Adrian briefly said a couple of minutes ago that even after the love remains, is there with the feeling of love remains. And also the my personal journey of my own death, where I almost died. I experienced near-death experience, and that love, what was the thing that, not the thing, I don't know how to say it, but love is what that made me feel like, okay, I will fight to survive for my beloved ones. I don't want my mom to experience when my grandmother experienced when my father died and he was 48 years old. And love is what make us connected to
mm,
ourselves, to others, and to the greater thing that we can call whatever we want to call. And
mm,
everybody has the right to believe with their own belief. So I think this is transformation. It's happening. It's really the calling at the moment because I truly think, and I truly believe that um, especially in the current situation in the world, we talk about nervous system anxiety and the world is what's happening. If we can always be empowered and choose what I want to choose today, and I choose to teach love. So I think this is the momentum, and I think it will be more needed. And as I say, as long as there is inner division within, there will be division in the outer world. So this is a
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's well said. Thank you so much. And I think, that's a great transition really until, what the opportunity is for everybody here. And as Adriane said, this is not just come to Bali and this is a one opportunity, one and done. This is a global movement of lighthouse, love coaches who are trained, they have the heart, they have the care, but they also have the ethics and the standards and the practices to follow. And we're creating, or we're lighting the fire and having, lighthouses all around the world that are, transforming within and guiding transformations in others in a really clean way. And the first opportunity we have is to join in Bali, which is coming up in April. You can join for 1 or 2 weeks, but that's not the only opportunity. And if you feel called to come to Bali because this is for you, we have Joy's going to put the link in to book a call. We can go through the logistics, all of that. Now, another key thing too is if travel is not on the cards, we also have another clear next step, which is called, is Adriane's Becoming Love online certification program, where it's a 12-week journey with her to also unravel and get more clarity on these key elements of how we not only become a lighthouse, but become love. And, that is another possible next step if you feel called to that. We've got, a beautiful, retreat planned in this amazing resort that I talked about. And it's going to be a life-changing in-person event, as we all know. And as Stephen was, kind of referring to as well, like we can only go so far and so deep in 60 minutes or in an online container. Imagine what's possible in 14 days in person with, people that have this shared mission and shared vision to become these lighthouses to guide others as well. So that's my invitation, is to explore what's possible with our team and see what's actually a really appropriate next step for you guys. Adriane and Miguel have events in Spain. They have events in Toronto. It is a global movement that's unfolding from now until, eternity. Like this is something that she's deeply passionate about. And this next really powerful in-person next step is in Bali. And then we're going to have another beautiful one in Spain and in Bali again in October. So it's really just important. If you feel this call to become a lighthouse, we have a team to speak with. We can, find out all the things that are, that you still need answers for, or that we can guide you on. And I think, I think she's just put in the page there. Any info about pricing? Yeah, the pricing's on there as well, I believe, on that page. And when you work with the team, we can also come up with, flexible payment plans. And, if I'm not sure if you felt from the heart of Adriane and Miguel, but it's been clear from the beginning, since we've been partnering with them as well, that they really just want this. They're passionate about getting this work out to people, and they don't want, that investment and some of those logistics to get in the way of people joining this. So let's talk. We can create flexible solutions. And, I think that's our commitment to everyone who's on this call and moving forward, is to, find avenues that we can explore together to make this happen for you, whether it's coming to Bali, coming to Spain, being in Toronto, starting online as an easy next step. And we can give you some details on that as well. So all of that is possible. we can get pricing to you, pricing info to you, Stephen, as well. That's all. We're trying to be as transparent as possible, so it feels clean as well. Adriane, any final kind of words? I know we're 5 minutes over, so I appreciate everyone's time for being
Thank you,
patient.
everyone, and
Thank
everyone
you.
seeing the replay. I really appreciate your interest and listening to me and Miguel, and we are looking forward to meeting you when the divine timing has, arrived for you, when you're ready to speak. Don't feel pressured. Everybody has, circumstances and their personal evolution. And I just pray that the community grows organically and with a lot of integrity and collaboration. So thank you. And thanks to Miguel and Brandon and my whole team. We have an amazing team in the background. I'm so honored to work with a group of absolute fantastic professionals. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Wonderful. Thanks for all your sharing, Miguel. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Thanks for your contributions. Appreciate you making time for this. We'll share the replays with everyone as well. And like we said, link is in the chat if we want to book a call with someone. We're looking forward to speaking with you. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Bye, team.